Hi, my name is Atlas, and today I am going to show you how to assemble and play the B-flat clarinet. Before I show you how to put it together though, I want you to go ahead and set your instrument case down either on a table near you or just on the floor. I'm going to set it on the floor, and you want to make sure that all logos and text on the case is facing right side up, just so that you don't throw the parts of your instrument everywhere. You want to go ahead and open your case. If yours is like mine, you have to press these two in at the same time. But really it could be anything depending on the model that you have. So as you can see, the clarinet has a lot of different parts. I'm gonna go ahead and explain what each of those are. This is the mouthpiece. It comes with a handy little cap. This is the part where you attach the reed and you plug this into the instrument and you blow into to produce sound. The mouthpiece plugs into the barrel. That just sort of adapts it, because this is a smaller thing than this, so it can fit in the next piece, which is the upper joint. There's two joints, an upper and a lower. The upper joint has a logo on it, and as you can see, it has all this very complicated keywork. Whenever you're handling the clarinet, you just want to be careful not to crush any of the keys or bar mechanisms. So after the upper joint, you have the lower joint, which is identifiable by its three very big keys down here. Those are played with these pinky keys. And as you can see, some of them go down, some of them go up. You don't really have to worry about that, but it's something interesting to think about. And then finally, the last piece is the bell, and this just goes on the very end of the lower joint to help magnify your sound. So, also in your case should be a ligature, and that is the piece that attaches the reed to the mouthpiece. So those are very important. Without those, you couldn't produce a sound. This is cork grease. As you can see, there's a lot of different corks on the clarinet, and especially if you have a new clarinet, all the corks will be very dry, and it'll be kind of hard to twist the pieces together. So, if you want to grease to grease those pieces up, you want to get some on your fingers. There's different types, styles of cork grease. They could come in a stick or in a little tub, but either way, you just want to get that on your fingers. And I want you to go ahead and grab the lower joint first. Remember, that's the one with the four pinky keys down here. And in order to grease the cork, you actually rub it in with your fingers. It's important that you do that instead of just applying the cork grease directly to the cork, because the process of rubbing it in is what makes it easier to twist the pieces together. So after that, go ahead and grab your bell. As you can see, yours might not, but my bell has a logo, and when you're holding the lower joint, you want your right hand to be on these three holes, and you just want to carefully twist these pieces together, pressing down on those holes but not crushing any of these bars or anything else. And you want the logo to line up with the tone holes, which is where your fingers are, and ta-da! That's the first step. It's okay if it's not perfectly even. That doesn't really matter. Our next step is we are going to grab the upper joint. Remember, this one also has a logo. You're going to grease. You may still have some grease on your fingers. You can go ahead and use that on the lower cork, the one further from the logo. And something you need to be very careful of, we're going to twist the upper joint into the lower joint, but if you'll look here, there's a key, and it's called the bridge key. And by pressing this key, you can move it back and forth. And when you're twisting the upper joint into the lower joint, you want to make sure that your left thumb should be back here, your left hand should be curved over it, and make sure you have that bridge key pressed down. If you don't, you could potentially damage your instrument. And that aligns with this right here. And that, if you press these keys, moves that up. When you're twisting the instruments together, it's very important to not press the lower joint keys, or else you will break your instrument. So just go ahead and carefully twist those pieces together. You kind of have to do like a lot of downward force while you're twisting, so don't be afraid to maybe use a little more force than you think is necessary to get those pieces together. Next up, as you can see, we're almost done. It's almost a full clarinet. You want to go ahead and grease that top cork. I still have some leftover grease. If you have a new clarinet, you probably won't. You'll have to get some more from whatever cork grease you have. Then you want to grab your barrel. It's called that because it kind of looks like a barrel. It's cool. And you want to put the wider end into this cork. Now, when you're twisting this in, it's important that you hold the upper joint steady, because if the upper joint's moving around and you have stuff pressed down, and maybe you're accidentally pressing down the bridge key, you could damage your instrument. The clarinet's unique in that that bridge key is especially precarious. Next, you want to grab your mouthpiece. Another cork, grease it. I still have more grease. You might not. And you want the side with the hole to be facing you. So this is what the back side of your clarinet should look like. And you want the side with the logo to be facing the audience, so that they can know where you got your clarinet. And then that should be about centered. You can go ahead and put the clarinet in your mouth. If it feels either far left or far right, you can adjust it. That feels kind of left, so I'm going to twist it to the right a little. Next up, you're going to grab your ligature. This is a handy metal piece. There's a couple different models of ligature, but regardless of your style of ligature, you want these pins to be facing towards the right when you put it on, and you want the wider end to go to be facing the ground instead of facing the sky. Because if you try to put it on the other way, it just won't go on. And then you can't put your reed on, and you can't play, and that'd be so sad. So when you put your ligature on, if you look carefully at the mouthpiece, you'll see there's a little indent there, and you just want the ligature to be below that. Next, you want to grab your reed. The reed is very important to sound production. It vibrates, and that vibration is what you hear. It's magnified by the rest of the instrument. So in order to encourage this reed to vibrate, you want to make sure that it's wet and has like flexibility. So to moisten it, you put it in your mouth and you kind of lick it. And you want to get both sides of both sides. That's right. Even the super like thick wooden end also has to be pliable and flexible if you want to get the best tone quality. You may notice, if you look very carefully, my reed's a 2.5. There's a couple different reed sizes. The bigger the number, the thicker the reed is. So it'll be more difficult to produce sound, but it generally produces a more pleasant sound if you can. For beginners, like you and I, a 2.5 is where you want to be. A 3 might be a little too hard. And when you put that ligature on, you want to make sure it's below that indent and also below this dark wood. That's called the heart of the reed. So make sure, or that lighter wood. It's just different. So then you want to twist the pins until you meet resistance, until it's hard to twist it any further. Then twist it back. And just do that for both pins, and that's just to improve flexibility, while also keeping the reed fixed to the instrument. Oh, another detail, I'm so sorry. You want the reed to be positioned so that you can see just a sliver of black above it. That's just the right place for it to be. Now, if you remember from how we assembled the instrument, your fingers were kind of in weird spots, and that's how you want to hold the instrument too. So for your left hand on top, your thumb will be floating between these two keys. It can press either of them down. And then your 3 fingers will go 1, 2, 3 over top these holes without covering them. And your pinky will float over these 2 keys. You want to make sure that your fingers are curved so that you have more dexterity, and also that they're angled downwards so that your pointer finger can hit either of these 2 keys at any time. For your right hand, your thumb is going to be arranged like this, and the thumb is actually what holds up most of the weight of the instrument. And then 1, 2, 3 with these fingers over those holes, and your right pinky is floating over these keys in case it needs to press them. Okay, so our next step is we're actually going to go ahead and put this instrument to our face. To do this, you have to have what's called a proper clarinet embouchure. Embouchure is just a big fancy French word that means the position of your lips. Every wood instrument has a different correct embouchure in order to get the best possible quality of sound. For clarinet in particular, you want your top teeth to be uncovered, touching the mouthpiece, about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch back from the edge, like this. And then your bottom teeth are going to be covered by your bottom lip. You're going to kind of firm up the corners of your mouth so that there's an airtight seal between your mouth and the reed. Make sure you have proper posture. So sit up straight at the edge of your chair, bring the clarinet to you at about a 45-degree angle, and then without pressing any of the buttons, remembering about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch in your mouth, bottom lip rolled in, teeth on top, blow. And you want to blow kind of from your diaphragm with a lot of air to get that confident, good sound. If you don't have that same tone quality, experiment with the position of your mouth. See like where your tongue is in your mouth, making sure your mouth is very open, your lips aren't too like firm or like too loose. There's like an airtight seal, but you're not like crushing the reed. But assuming everything goes right and you get tone coming out of the instrument, the next step is just to add fingerings. So the open fingering on clarinet plays a G, which should sound something like that. If you go ahead and add the top hole of the right hand with your pointer finger, that plays an F sharp. And as you can hear, it's very close to the G, it's only a 1/2 step lower. If you want to get even lower than that, you add this bottom thumb hole while still holding that pointer finger hole, and that's your E. If you heard that really loud noise, that was a squeak, which means my embouchure wasn't 100% where it needed to be. That'll be very natural. If you hear that in your own playing, don't be afraid of that. Don't back down with your air, just keep trying, you'll get it. So to go even lower than the E, which is these two fingers, you're going to go ahead and add your middle finger on your left hand, and that's your D. So to review, D, E, F sharp, and G. Okay, so now we're just going to go ahead and play a little tune. After that, we'll go over disassembly, and you'll have learned a lot about the clarinet. So to play hot cross buns, which is the piece we're going to do, you're going to start with the F sharp with your first finger, then E, add your thumb, add your middle finger for D. So that'll sound like. So go ahead and do that. Remember, F sharp, E, D. Take a second, pause the video if you need. But after that, you go D, E, F sharp, E, D. So. You may want to take it a little slower than that. And to get those little pauses between the notes, you want to touch the reed like just a little bit from the edge with like 10 taste buds from the tip of your tongue. So yeah, let's go ahead and play hot cross buns together. I'll count us in. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then each note will be 4 beats long. So 1, 2, ready. So go ahead and go back, listen to that a couple times if you need, and just try and get that really solid. After you've done that, Congratulations, you've played your first song on the clarinet, and you're on your way to becoming a professional. Now we're going to work on disassembly. So go ahead and take your case, make sure it's open. You want to grab this reed case, untwist your ligature just a little bit so you can get your reed out of there. You want to dry it off just by like sucking the moisture out. Put that in carefully, start with the delicate end, and then slide in the wider end. Just set that in your case. Make sure that your cork grease is capped so that it doesn't dry out. Next, you're gonna just slide that ligature off, put it in there. From here, I'm gonna go ahead and take the upper joint off of the lower joint. Remember, press the bridge key, which is the middle one, on the left hand, but not the right hand. You want to twist back and just shimmy it out. After that, I will set the lower joint in the case so that I can carefully remove barrel and mouthpiece. This goes into the case. You may have to kind of feel out where exactly it goes. But if you pay attention to the shapes, you'll figure it out sooner rather than later. Untwist the mouthpiece from the barrel. Go ahead and put the cap back on the mouthpiece. And then untwist the barrel from the lower joint, handling it by the tone holes. Put these back in there. And voila! The clarinet is back in its case. Go ahead and close it. And that is all I have for you. Thank you very much for paying attention and learning the clarinet with me.